This week we are at SaaS North, the annual conference for SaaS companies here in Ottawa. Among the wealth of knowledge you can get from this conference are some strategies on how to attract investment to your firm. We're going to be here with some tips on how you can get a little bit of funding yourself this week on Techopia Live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Techopia Live. I'm your host, Craig Lord, the editor here at Techopia. This week we are at SaaS North, the annual Canadian conference for SaaS companies. We are talking to some of the speakers, some of the executives that are sharing their wisdom here at the conference this week. With me right now is Pablo Srugo, the principal at Mistral Venture Partners. Thanks so much for joining us, Pablo.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And right next to him, I've got Natalie Giroux from our sponsor, Stratford Managers. Thank you so much for joining us, Natalie. Awesome. Now, Pablo, one of the things I'm interested to know is about the investing side of SaaS.
Yes.
We're talking about a lot of SaaS topics here at SaaS North, but investment is a key one for the companies that are trying to grow as rapidly as possible. When you, in your work at Mistral, are considering maybe a software as a service company, what are some of the metrics or some of the clues that you're looking for to say, okay, this is the company I need to pay attention to?
That's a great question, right? And I think for context, as a VC, I'm looking at about 1,000 deals a year. I'm meeting with about 150, 200 founders, like in person or on a call, and I'm picking 4, maybe 5 companies to actually deploy capital into. Yeah. So that's a very, wide funnel at the top, very narrow at the bottom. And so obviously a lot of kind of stars have to align for us to actually go in. And the reason is we want to be very involved with these companies. So how do you become one of those 4 or those 5 that actually gets financed? And part of it is alignment. I mean, the reality is we'll have ideas about how markets are going. And so as a founder, part of it is telling your story and trying to convince. Part of it is just finding the right partner who believes what you believe. Right. Because if you have to push too much on someone for them to get and accept where your market's going, and they're reluctant to really agree with your vision, that's not going away after the first or second board meeting, right? That's something you're going to have to deal with for a long time. Yeah. Now, beyond that, I can tell you what we look at, because you have your team, market, product. Those are the 3 things every investor will tell you. You need a strong team, differentiated product, fast-growing market, etc. We obviously look at that. One of the other things we happen to pay a lot of attention to is this idea of ROI, right? And measurable, defensible ROI, right? So somebody will say, look, we've got the SaaS thing. Here's my MRR. Here's how it's been growing. I put it in, and people are loving it. Great. Okay, fine. You convinced a few people to try it out, and they like it. From a business perspective, what does that really look like? What needle is that moving? And can you actually show me that data? Very few actually have that at the stage that we play. Yeah. And it's not about revenue, right? It's really not about revenue. You could do a free pilot and move a KPI needle, right? But that's what is ultimately repeatable, because once you have that ROI, you can build a business case around that pretty easily and get a sales team going and really get the machine moving quickly, and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, really scale that up to a point where you could see some big returns from your side anyway.
That's right, because if it's all about, oh, well, I'm a passionate founder and I've been able to convince people to put the product in and they like me and they're sticky because the product is good, well, how do you scale that times 10 salespeople who aren't going to be as passionate as you? Right. And that's, that could stagnate, right? That could stagnate.
Exactly. Now, before we actually take on that investment, I want to turn to Natalie for a question, because one of the things you want to make sure that you've got hammered out is an IP strategy. Can you talk about the value of that, Natalie?
Yeah, so investors are looking for a holistic IP strategy, not just, I filed a patent so my IP is taken care of. In the case of SaaS companies, trade secrets are really, really important, and they need to be properly managed. So investors will be looking for not only patent, but trade secrets and also trademarks, which are super important for SaaS companies.
For sure.
That's from my experience.
Yeah, exactly. Your experience on both sides of that, and both with Stratford Managers and as an investor yourself for many years.
Exactly.
Awesome. Pablo, one of the things I'm interested to hear more about, actually, with Mistral, you've recently made a move to Montreal to take the fund to that startup scene. I'm very curious. I know Mistral was based in Ottawa. What are the differences here that you're seeing between the Ottawa startup scene and Montreal now? What are the differentiators between these two markets?
That's a great question, and I have a unique thought, which is that there's not that much of a difference, right? And I don't want to overplay that. I mean, we're 2 hours apart fundamentally. Yeah. Yes, we're in different provinces, different languages, and there are differences. I mean, Montreal is a bigger ecosystem. There's just more people there, so that means there's more capital options. There's maybe 1-2 firms here in Ottawa. There's 12 or so in Montreal. That gives founders a lot more choices in terms of who they can go to for financing. But the other side that I'm also noticing is just how strong Ottawa is for its size, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and I was at a founder event earlier this week. 50 top founders in Ottawa in one room, all tech, many SaaS, others not. But and that's it's hard to replicate that in a bigger city like Montreal. Mm-hmm. So this is a very tight-knit community. Over there, we have different groups that are also tight. But to bring everyone together in one place, that's challenging. Now, in terms of the differences, I think we're all watching the same videos, we're all reading the same blog posts, we're all kind of going in a very similar vein, especially in my world of VC, right, and SaaS. It's not it's not a night and day. At least that's not what I'm noticing in terms of what the objectives are of founders and how they're going about it.
No, like you said, just a couple hours down the road.
That's right.
To the difference there. So maybe not substantial if you notice, but interesting notice about the mass of companies and how that changes and having focused events like you were at with a few founders locally in a room. So that was great. Excellent insights that we can share from both of you, Pablo and Natalie, about investing in SaaS and maybe a couple of differences between this market and the ones down the road. So Pablo and Natalie, thank you both very much for joining us this week.
Thank you, appreciate it. It's great.
Awesome. Now before I let you go, I want to take a quick moment and thank some of our sponsors without whom Techopia Live would not be possible. I want to start with numbercrunch, offering virtual CFO services to SaaS firms. There's TD Bank, offering specialized programs for tech companies. There's Perley Robertson, Hill & McDougall, a leader in business and tech law. There's the University of Ottawa Faculty of Engineering, creating the next generation of technical talent. There's KRP Properties, offering so much more than just space. Of course, we had Natalie here today from Stratford Managers, offering services to help you scale up your tech venture. Now, of course, Techopia is not just this fantastic show. We're also available online with daily articles covering Ottawa's tech scene at obj.ca/Techopia. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Techopia OTT. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please leave us a like and a comment and subscribe if you'd like to see more of our weekly tech interviews. Apart from that, I just want to thank you very much for joining us from SaaS North this week. Be sure to check back for some of our other videos sharing the insights and wisdom from SaaS North. Thanks again.